All right. So I actually was able to get the live stream stuff working on my laptop rather than my phone because the last time that I was doing these, or the last four times, because this would be number five, then I was doing them on my phone. But I thought that this would be a heck of a lot easier to manage because then I wouldn't have to be holding the phone up the entire gosh darn time. And I wouldn't have to, scroll through different comments and things like that. You'd have to forgive me for a little bit of a space cadetness because I worked all day and I'm going to need a root canal. Um, of course, that's always fun. And hydration is also a benefit too. So there's so many different things that I could talk about specifically from from different views and comments that I've gotten on the channel. I might even want to pull some of those up actually, just thinking about different things that I could respond to because I kind of just decided to do this thing on the fly, you know. I'm trying to think of a couple of interesting comments and such, but I'm just pulling them up right here. So, there's a couple of really interesting ones that I have responded to. So, I did have a comment on another video on one of my shorts that was asking about why would a real deity want an offering? You might as well just worship Yahweh. I don't understand. So that was on connecting with deities and making offerings to them. You know, the idea behind offerings and whatnot with spirits is think about when you're interacting with other people, right? If you go and hang out with somebody, then people don't just hang out with other people just for the sake of breathing the same air, right? If you have a friendship, it's mutually beneficial. Maybe you guys enjoy time together or you do certain things together. Like I would have certain friends that I talk about certain things with and certain friends that I would talk about other things with, you know? Or if I have somebody coming over to my house to fix something, where's the exchange there? They fix the thing for me, I pay them, right? If we're working with spirits, whether they are far off spirits, the big high ones like Anu, Enlil, Enki, Marduk, Yahweh, Allah, you name it, those the big cheeses, I guess you could say the Elohim. If you watched some of my other content on multiple gods and such, then one of the things that comes from Christian doctrine is God, Yahweh, uh, you know, storm god, war god. Um, he wants a relationship with people. Well, how do you build a relationship with something that's not physically there, right? Well, this is where offerings and things like that come in. Whether it's an altar you set up for them, prayers that you send to them. If you're sitting in front of your altar that has a visage, a statue, or what have you, and you're calling on their presence, it's like phoning a friend. And then when you are engaged in that energy and whatnot, and you're spending time with them, that is relationship. When we are hanging out with friends, that is relationship. When we are in a relationship, you are spending time with that person because relationships crumble if you don't spend time together and things like that, right? So there's an energetic exchange there. And you go with the as above so below kind of thing when you're um doing things like incense burning or burning different herbs and whatnot. We are physical. These beings are arguably non-physical or they're at a different dimension. So the way that you can play around with this is you got to make things non-physical or as etheric as possible. It's why you do things like hierarchies and despachos or and I'm going to get my lady on a live stream one of these days so she can talk a lot more about the shamanism and spirit and deep spiritual jazz. I got her pumped on the idea of actually coming onto one of these live stream things. She's actually over at her parents right now, and she was like, "Oh, I could have done it with you." Well, you ain't here, so here I am. Um, when we burn things and we transmute them from physical to non-physical, then we are arguably bridging the gap from where we are to where they are. It's not like we can send a package to Yahweh in the mail and say, "Hey, write a little letter with it. Here, take this as an exchange for helping me out with X, Y, or Z." You know? So I'm gonna tell her you said that, T-Man. Nice. So, because one of these days, and they'll probably be around this time, by the way, because this is when my day frees up. And then I'll be able to hop on. I don't know what day of the week it's going to be. That kind of stuff all depends. Of course, if you don't catch it live, then you can catch the replay and whatnot. But yeah, lost my little tangent there. Both languages. Just kind of digging through some of the previous comments to find out some things I can expand on. But if you guys have any questions, definitely let me know. Somebody typed 93 on one of the videos. Temple of Psychic Youth stuff. How do we proceed with the evocation of... this is one I was talking about, Sea Tree. So, goetic invocation stuff. I think that there are a lot of other people that would be way more well-versed in the nitty-gritty of goetic invocation things, but the main idea is, you have the cast circle, and you have an area, the triangle of art, where you would summon the spirit externally to you. But and then there's invoking with bringing up a bunch of energy through different methods, which I talk about in magical theater a lot, and then making the call out to them. And one of the biggest things with evocation is when you evoke or invoke a spirit, a lot of people, they expect to have certain things happen. And the Modern Magick by Craig really demystifies this kind of stuff for me. And I had that book for years. And then when I was rereading it one day, that's when the stuff about evocation really clicked for me. When you evoke a spirit, after you do all your prayers and stuff, this could be with the 72 Nergak, the 72 Demons of Solomon, the 50 Names of Marduk, or any kinds of spirits, honestly. When you do when you invoke the spirit, right? When you're done with all that stuff, regardless of the signs that you get or the impressions that you get or any of those different things, you have to go with the idea that they are here, that they can hear you, that they can see you, and that they're here to, they're wondering what's going on. It's like if you call somebody and the phone stops ringing and you hear a click as if somebody picked up, but then you can't hear them, you're going to be like, "Hey, are you there? Hello?" And then you would start talking or whatever, or even texting somebody. You don't know when they're going to read it, but you do it anyway, right? In one of I have this goetic notebook number 2 that I got at a book fair. And the idea is once you do the invocation, that at least with that goetic notebook, it talks about, like, if you don't get any signs and stuff, maybe that spirit's busy, which could arguably be true. But if we go with different theories on different spirits and things like that, because they are non-physical, or they're not trapped by the length, width, height, and time like we are. Of course, this could depend on the different class of spirit and whatever, because nobody truly knows those kinds of parameters of what species of spirits can do what. But even though they might have their attention drawn at another part of the universe, arguably they would still be able to hear you. So I find that probably because of the way that magic is in the media, with movies and books and things like that, you expect to have like all the, the bumps in the night and everything that we expect to feel, hear, see, smell something when you evoke a spirit, but maybe your senses aren't tuned up to that. You know what I mean? Maybe they are trying to talk to you, or they are present, but you are not able, your radio is not completely tuned into their frequency, and therefore you can't sense them. You do this more and more and more and more, particularly with different kinds of spirits, then you will be able to do that, arguably. I mean, of course, this could take You know, it can take a week for some people. It might take 3 months for some people. It might take 3 freaking years for some people, but you gotta keep trying that kind of thing. Yeah, don't waste a spirit's time. Bad manners can cost you in multiple ways. Um, you know, that's very true. I mean, although arguably, how would you waste a spirit's time? Because, I mean, I would say don't go and ask them for something that you haven't already tried to fricking do. You know, that's why magic is a last resort kind of thing. You are supposed to exhaust all of your physical world means of trying to get the thing you want before you actually engage in magic to actually go after it and get it, right? And in the event that, like, you've tried everything that you could think of, then that's when you ask for help. It's like when I've been doing stuff around my house now, rather than calling somebody to fix it, I try to fix it first. That's why I fixed my fricking dishwasher twice by myself, you know? But wasting a spirit's time could not only be the idea of doing stuff frivolously, but also like wasting time with what am I thinking about? Sorry guys, I've got a little bit of a headache from the frickin' antibiotics and stuff that I have to take because of the root canal jazz. But hmm, I suppose somebody would say that that you could waste a spirit's time if you invoke them without having a purpose for them. But if I go back to the whole building a relationship kind of thing with spirits, maybe you want to build a long-term thing with the spirit to learn from them. You know, some goetic spirits, they teach different arts and different things, right? Well, you're not gonna like, it's not like the Matrix where you can download how to fly a helicopter, right? So maybe invoking a particular spirit and then being with that spirit's energy where you are in the space, which is what I did with Sea Tree, because I didn't exactly have a goal in mind when I did the invocation of Sea Tree. I just wanted to experience what Sea Tree was like, and I can still remember because I set up the stuff upstairs. The running gag. Um, and then when I did it, I can still remember where I was sitting, and I just had this overwhelming feeling of like happiness, positivity, love. Like the whole room was like a hug. You know what I mean? Swish mouth out with black seed oil. I wonder what that means because I do not know. You know, so, you guys got any questions while I'm here? Because I'm gonna keep the live stream going for a little bit longer. This one might actually be kinda short because I do not feel the best, but I've been really working on pushing myself to do things rather than putting them off, because if I put them off, I never get them done, you know? So that's been one of my goals. Hmm, good thing is I don't have any magic for hire to do, so that's kind of off of my list. Might pour over some other comments and stuff. Hmm. Digging through some things. Huh. Somebody did ask me if I'd ever done if I'd ever done like stuff like Golden Dawn and the LBRP. Um, I haven't done that in ages. I mean, this was way back in the day of beginning things, like when I was working through the Modern Magic by Craig. There is a lot of there's the Yeshua cross and the LBRP in there, you know. Um, hmm. Read any good books lately? Not necessarily occult related. It can be novels or such. One book that I mean, I haven't really read anything that I've read like a lot of like dash of trash stuff. I like true crime jazz or you know what thriller books and things like that. But one book, if you guys have not read it, and I don't have it here because I gave it to somebody to read it because the first page of this book says this is not for you. So it's meant to be given away when you're done reading it. It's House of Leaves by Daniel Lusky. If you want to talk existential dread, eldritch horror, and total wackadoo weirdness, that book is freaking amazing. I think I actually did make a video or two on my channel about that book, um, because it plays around with uh, like a house that is bigger on the inside than the outside. You can make like a TARDIS Doctor Who joke with that, but it turns into a creepy horror movie. Um, kind of sort of thing. It does everything that a horror movie tries to do, but it can't. If you want to look up on YouTube, is House of Leaves the scariest novel ever? Do it, because that video is an excellent explanation of House of Leaves, and it's hopefully going to want to make you pick that dang book up. um, Now, one of the things that I can think of that I could speak to a little bit lately is now that it's getting warmer outside, one of the things that I'm probably going to have my lady talk about when I get her on the channel, and we're just going to be doing live streams like this, so it's going to be wicked informal. So we're probably not going to do recorded videos and things like that. So of course you can find them if you don't catch them live, but is getting out in nature and working and communing with spirits of nature. And one of the things that she was reading the other day is like, you know, you might go outside and like go to a park or something, but you might not at first hand get the idea that spirits are everywhere. And we, both me and her, argue that they are everywhere, at least in our experiences, stuff, because we follow the Caro tradition from the Andes. And when you go out into nature, there are spirits all around you. There are ones that they're all around, you can't see them. So you could argue that there are ones from, in the air, in the grass, in the trees, in the water. So we're talking things like fairies, golems, gnomes, mermaids, nagas, dragons, things like that. Every culture has those kinds of things. That's why even in some European countries, I can't exactly remember which ones, but they have those like fairy stones that when they would make a road, they would literally make the road go around the rock because they didn't want to disturb. T-Man, yep, spirits in the rocks. Where they didn't want to disturb this rock because it had a spirit in it. And I love it when modern society still has those kinds of things in there, because it demonstrates that these kinds of traditions that we've had for thousands of years, I mean, way, way, way back, even before recorded history, which started in Mesopotamia, by the way. We've always been doing these kinds of things, and just diving into that kind of stuff and really sitting with those spirits and building relationships with those spirits, because any spirit it's like any friend that you have, any type of friendship that you have, if it's not beneficial, get rid of it. you know so when it comes to building relationships with spirits, spending time out, like where I'm at, spending time out in the woods, connecting with the different spirits and the energies out in the woods. When I do that and I build a positive relationship with them, and like for example, I clean up a lot of trash, right? I clean up a ton of trash, and we've always made it a point to, whenever we go out to a park, we always, always, always pick up trash and bring it home, and throw it out, because we want to clean up their space to do them a favor. And we'll make offerings of various different things. She'll make like little flower altars and stuff like that, or we'll do a couple of other offering practices, and we'll sit and we'll meditate and we'll pray, and we'll even talk to the space of wherever we are. And through that, we're building a relationship. And then by helping to clean things, like even if you see, along like a river, if you see a buildup of like the green gunky mildew crap, and you're able to move like leaves and twigs out of the way to allow that to flow, that's helping the water. Or you clean up garbage, or you clear a path. I recently got a rake so I can actually make the paths around the woods way better. And all of these things, it allows for better energy flow, and we're getting our modern society junk out of the wilderness. course spirits are going to like that. So it's the whole I scratch your back, you scratch mine, that kind of thing, right? So you build a relationship with spirits in that way, and then they will certainly help you. When it comes to doing things that are like indoors at your altar and whatnot, what you want to be able to do is, I know that, like, the whole thing with the 72 Goesha, the 72 Nurgak, the 50 names of Marduk, they all seem to be, and I'm not saying they're not effective because they are absolutely crazily effective, but that's also magical mechanic number one, belief, and then a bunch of other of the other magical mechanics that I wrote about in magical mechanics, but it's skipping my mind right now because I got a headache back here. Um, the different spirits, particularly ones with sigils, we kind of treat them as like, uh, you know, your toilet's messed up, your sink is messed up. Yo, I need a handyman. Come over here. I pay you money. You do the thing for me, and then I got to work in toilet. You know, but when what I challenge you guys to do is pick a spirit that has like a long-term kind of goal to it. Not something external like getting a job or getting a new car or a new relationship or whatever like that. Pick a spirit that is going to change something inside you, right? One of the ones that I can think of is, I believe it's number 37 in the 50 Names of Marduk, Mala, Malah, and that one builds confidence and courage. I invoked that one every single day for months, a couple of years back. And that one really, really helped me with overcoming a lot of work bullsh that I was dealing with, because I had a lot of paperwork. I had a lot of just it was a heck of a lot of stress. So what really think that anybody should be doing with spirits is not just, yo, you, I need to help with the thing. I need to help with the thing, and I'm gonna give you some offerings, and I'm gonna make a sigil, and I'm gonna do a prayer. I'm gonna raise some energy. I'm gonna give you some energy, and you do the thing for me. You know, wouldn't it be better to build a relationship with a particular spirit so that you can have like a long-term friendship, as it were? Have you guys ever had like, you have friendships that come and go? Well, that kind of sucks, right? So don't think of these spirits as, and I know that like the goetic point of view is you are controlling the spirit to show up through the triangle of art, and you command it to do the thing, and then it does the thing, and then you dismiss it, or it goes off and does the thing. Now, of course, fetches and thought forms are completely different for this because they're built for that kind of thing. But when it isn't, when it is a spirit that is way older than you, because age isn't even a thing to them, you know, at this point, regardless of how old they are, or we are ants and they are the boots, right? And we are asking them for help. Well, if you're an ant, don't treat a boot like garbage, because you're gonna get squished. Just the idea is, treat these spirits with much, much more reverence and much, much more respect, and build a relationship with them, so it's not just a one-off handyman that you call to fix your problems, and it's not a short-term friendship that you have just for what, a week, maybe two, and then you drop it. I mean, if your attention span with having people help you out and working with different spirits like that, what are you telling the universe? What are you sending out to the universe? You know what I mean? You're telling the universe that you're going to use things to your advantage. Now, I mean, could that be something that is like positive or negative? Arguably, it can be used negatively, because you are you are just you're not doing things for the purposes of relationship and friendship. I mean, have you ever had a friendship where you feel used, and every time that you hang out with them, they're doing something for you? I mean, I remember someone in college, right? I was thinking about this the other day, and it's kind of a funny story. But me and I think I think it was I think we were dating at the time. The same girl that, if you watch my experiences with Magic, video. She had the 3 books on witchcraft, and I wasn't allowed to read them and stuff, and then I eventually did, and, oh, hey, here I am, and I'm really good at it. But anyways, the we were hanging out with a friend of hers, and she's like, "Hey, do you guys wanna go to the mall?" And we're like, "Yeah, that sounds like fun." And she goes, "Okay, who's driving?" Because she didn't have a car. So she was, like, inserting that idea just for the sake of being able to go somewhere because she did not have her own car. I don't know why she didn't have her own car because her family was loaded, but the point is that's kind of usury, I think is the correct word, you know? And just I would argue to not treat spirits like that. Now, I'm looking through some of the comments and stuff. Crystals and houseplants have spirits. Well, houseplants are alive, so that's much more easily to believe that they do have spirits. But if you go with the animism thing, everything that you have can have a spirit in it. And one of the things that I watched the other day was talking about even your tools when you first get a tool or when you take them out to use them, then you address that tool. You can program it and address it with what you're going to call it, what it's going to be used for, and say your intentions. Like you're going to treat it with respect or something. You know, like even my EITO for the practice of EIDO, I think it's really funny that it's just one letter difference between the actual item and the practice, but that was made in Japan. And traditionally, when you and that this really informed a lot of my ritual work too. When you approach your sword, your EITO, you bow to it because you are honoring the spirit of that particular sword. And then when you are when you're doing the whole setup where you are holding the saya, the scabbard, in one hand, you switch it over, you bow to the judges. Then when you sit down, you place it in front of you and you bow to your sword. And then you pick it up and you put it on and then you use it. You're showing respect to this particular item. Now, you can do the same kind of thing with your tools, you know? Like, I have my Tibetan Kartika over there that I particularly love because it connects with, Padmasambhava, the patron, Buddha of Tibet, and a lot of my other tools, like the wand that I've had since 2008 or the athame that I've had since 2008. I can't believe I still have them and they're not busted up yet. The athame's handle is so worn down from the amount of probably my skin oils, but that thing is still sharp. I know because I've been poked, and just I try to always treat those items with so much respect because it's not just, oh, all my rituals are done and I'm just going to throw all this stuff in a bag. You know what I mean? But even a couple of practices that I remember hearing about the other day was talking about how if when you leave your house, you know, you can talk to your house about, staying safe. So that way nothing bad happens in your house. Or even, and some of this stuff can get a little wackadoo, but even you rearrange furniture, have a meditative moment and connect with the energy of your house and see if the house likes the arrangement that you made. The more that we communicate with things in this way on a psychological level, it is also opening us up to the idea that there are things that we cannot see that we can communicate with. Because I can communicate with my lady, I can communicate with my cats because they're live things. They move around. They move around. They meow. They yell, and they talk and whatever. So that's much easier for my brain to be like, oh, socialization. But you can do the same thing with material objects. And the more that you do that kind of thing, like when I used to work at a bookstore and book would fall off a shelf, I would get mad at the book and put it back up and be like, stay, right? So, and my coworkers would always giggle at me for doing that kind of thing. But that's because I've developed this habit of talking with spirits, right? So, all right. Rant on talk on communication with spirits over for now, at least. How do you guys usually dispose of offerings? Do you burn them in ritual or bury them? So depending on different traditions, you can some of the things are to be buried, some of the things can be burned. Um rule of thumb is if you can burn it, arguably do that, you know, and then if you can't, bury it. And if you can't do that, then I would say, throw it away in a sanctimonious manner somehow. Um, because some offerings, like even if you're making an offering to like a particular spirit in nature or whatever, then put it out there in nature. The Andeans have the kintus, the three leaves that they put out in nature. Or despachos, which can either or hierarchies is what they're called in Quechua, where you can either burn them or bury them. One of the live stream things that me and my lady are going to talk about is hierarchies/despachos. Um, so you guys will probably get to learn about that. Basically, she's going to be doing most of the talking because she's a walking encyclopedia for this stuff, you know. So, um, I always tend to go on the side of burning things. Whenever I do a magic for hire, I turn all the materials that I use into a hierarchy where I have some offering herbs and I take the papers and stuff and I fold them up in a particular way and then I burn them. And the way that I like to think about it when I burn things is that as above, so below principle where you're communicating with the spirit and it's seen as an offering, right? So I have I did my sympathetic magic action, and then I take the materials from that sympathetic magic action, and I burn it, and it turns it from physical to non-physical because it's going from the state I am, flesh, physical, and it's turning it to non-physical, which is what the deities and the beings are that I work with. And therefore, I'm sending it to them by changing it from physical to non-physical. And then, so it goes from below to above. And then the path of manifestation from something that is nothing to something that becomes something is from above down below. So I give an offering and it goes up, and then my desired result materializes and goes down into reality. Does that make sense? I've actually explained that on almost every single Magic for Hire video explanation that I've done for people. So that was really easy to pull out of my brain. Hmm. I could keep digging, but I think I can take one more question or whatnot because I do got to go take my antibiotic because I haven't not done that yet. But let me know if you guys have like one more question that we could talk about because I kind of love the idea of the live stream stuff with picking my brain. You know, I wonder there's probably a delay on the chat, but let me know if you guys have any other kinds of things that you want me to talk about because I'm just kind of scrolling through my comments here. Stuff on numerology. Du-du-du-du-dum. I love how I had a guy who wondered what's with all the New World Order symbolism. Mainly, they were talking about this behind me. That New World Order symbolism. It's just art, dude. I don't think that. I mean, I have a dragon kite over here. I have a little sign over here that says "I'm here for the booze," with a ghost on it because I don't drink anymore. And then he had a problem with my Phoenix tapestry, but I'm not the decorator around here. So take it up with the lady when she's on the live stream, I guess. But you get all these conspiracy theorists that think everything is just way off base than it actually is when you're into occult stuff because of course they're always going to think that something is what it isn't because they don't know. I mean, it's a secret to everybody if you want to learn it. That's why I've made about 750 videos on this freaking channel, but I think you guys get what I mean. It's not conspiracy. Yeah. And of course somebody said I'm an awesome cat, but you guys have seen her on here too. Um, so, but yeah, I'm just kind of ranting at this point because I'm in a little bit of pain. So, anybody that's watching this one afterwards, oh, I got a cool comment here. I think the spirit lets itself known to you when you decide on something. The resolve you have will allow spirits to show you the doors to your experiences. I could agree with that kind of thing because one of the things about, and yeah, this will be the last thing I talk about, but one of the things that's can be kind of frustrating is the timing with different things. Like different things that I've come to learn about stuff. Like if you watched my video on my first ritual and the goddess, um, it took me eons, in my brain's opinion, for me to realize all of these different connections that I've had since my starting my journey with magic that lead all the way back to the primordial goddess or Inanna, just that divine feminine stuff. And just seeing that kind of stuff, and it hits you like a cosmic two by four. Like, how come you didn't see this thing the whole time? And you know, the Simon Necronomicon is a great example of that. The more that you open the book and the more that you read it, and the more it starts to make sense, and the more that it starts to reveal itself to you as you are reading things. Because at first glance, it tells you that the ancient ones are bad, um, but the more and more and more that you read it, the more and more and more you find out that it's not all black and white between elder gods and ancient ones. It's very, very gray, and it just depends on where you're going with it, and just when you're working with different spirits or different magical systems or whatever, one, you got to find the one that works for you. Two, you got to figure out and put time into seeing which one works for you. And three, each of them has a different flavor. Just because you like, I don't know, eggplant on pizza doesn't mean that you won't also like sausage and pepperoni on pizza. If you like pineapple on pizza, we're going to have a discussion, and then I'm gonna disagree with you. But just the more that you work with spirits and the more that you tune that antenna, the better off you're going to be. And you might find yourself being drawn to working with one particular pantheon or a type of spirit or what have you versus other ones. Like for this summer and for the foreseeable future, we are going to be working with a lot the nature spirits. We're going to be going to a bunch of different places, making a bunch of different offerings, making a bunch of different connections, and doing these different things. Now we've done this a little bit over the last several years, but we've both come to the consensus of it needing to be like a deep dive. So rather than doing, and of course I'm still going to keep up with a lot of the other magical practices that I have because, the 50 names of Marduk and everything in the Simon Necronomicon is so near and dear to me that it's just second nature. But when it comes to working with other spirits and where I'm angling towards, it's just because it finally clicked in my head, I guess you could say, then that's where I'm going. I always tend to follow where, attention goes where energy flows, and that's where the energy's flowing. So that's where my time and attention and energy are going to, at least for, you know, this foreseeable future. So yeah, I'm gonna cut it off here because I'm basically gonna shut the lights off because my headache is kicking me really hard right now. But um definitely planning on doing these more, seeing as now I got it on the computer and I actually made it work. Um so that was awesome. And I really appreciate everybody's comments. And if you didn't catch the live, then just kind of keep an eye on, if you're subscribed and stuff, you'll get notifications and whatnot if you turn the notifications on with the bell and whatnot for my for any of the live streams, which will probably happen between 9 and 11, and just kind of depends on the date and when they happen. I'm not really going to schedule things out because my life doesn't exactly work well with a schedule. But anyways, thank you for everybody that participated, and I will catch you next time. Good hunting.